are, your first global look at today's action in the Bitcoin, blockchain, and digital asset space. I'm your host, Christine Lee, and joining me are my co-hosts, CoinDesk Managing Editor of Global Capital Markets, Lawrence Lewitinn, and Managing Director of International Content, Emily Parker. Good morning, you two, my two favorite co-hosts. How are you this morning?
Good morning. Computers never sleep, so of course it's not just morning, it's 24/7. Yeah, NFT. We're gonna turn this show into an NFT. Let's do that. We're gonna turn this episode. We may. Well, this episode available on Nifty Gateway. All right, checking in on Bitcoin.
Too soon. Right
Too
now.
Soon.
$55,000, 166. It's down about just over 2% over the past 24 hours. And the ETX Ether price right now trading at $17.79, pretty much trading flat right now, according to Trade Block data, the most reliable reference price for institutions since 2014, with billions in assets under management benchmarked against it. So, Lawrence, has that selling pressure on Bitcoin been slowing down lately? What's going on in the markets?
Well, we had about $1.5 billion in long liquidations Monday and today. So those are basically the people who are long using leverage. They got wiped out when the price went down a little bit. We have a more stable market, but it's inching slowly down. We just had retail sale numbers. They came in at down 3% for the month of February. The market was expecting about 0.5%. So we're going to keep an eye on inflation. The 10-year yield is about 1.6, a little bit down from yesterday, but not that much. But we'll keep an eye on inflation expectations. That's going to affect the price of Bitcoin.
All right, keep an eye on those numbers. And Emily, we have that Mizuho study out saying that, where are people spending their stimulus check money?
Yeah. So yesterday I mentioned that one of the big topics in the crypto world was what is going to happen with all these stimulus checks and are they going to go into Bitcoin? And a survey from Mizuho said that nearly $40 billion could go into Bitcoin and stocks of these U.S. stimulus checks. So this is a pretty big figure. So it'll be really interesting to see if that's what happens, because if that does happen, it will obviously have an impact on Bitcoin's price.
Absolutely. So waiting for that, or if we see a bump, we'll know why that is. All right. Our first guest is a media maestro, serial entrepreneur, and prominent internet personality. He co-founded restaurant reservation app Resy, which I use from time to time, and was an early angel investor in tech firms like Facebook, Twitter, and Venmo. Joining us now is Gary Vaynerchuck, chair of VaynerX and the CEO of VaynerMedia. Welcome, Gary. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. How are you guys?
Yeah.
Great to have you. Great. All right. So, we just had Beeple on last week. We have MetaKovan, the buyer of his $70 million NFT, later on in the show. Are we in an NFT bubble? What are your thoughts on that? Beeple said he thought we were. Do you agree?
I do. I think that we are in a very similar place to where we were in internet stocks in 2000. I think when you have these massive transformation technology shifts, there's a moment where everybody gets excited about it. And, for me, the internet was happening in 95, 6, 7, but you started to really see the stock market embrace with those IPOs in 98, 99, and then obviously in March, April 2000, you had the collapsing of it. At the time of the stocks, at the time, a lot of people talked about the internet being a fad and it never being meaningful for businesses, blah, blah, blah. What happened in reality was the internet was this game-changing revolution of technology, but a lot of the early projects were just overpriced on the excitement. I think we're absolutely in the replication of this. I think NFTs are going to be a framework that we trade in, collect in, utility in, access in for the rest of our collective lives. But I think some of the projects that you're seeing right now on the individual pieces are going to burst.
So you have a long experience in marketing and are obviously quite skilled at that. Until recently, Bitcoin was widely considered to have a marketing problem. Like people just didn't get it. Like people, the mainstream just didn't get it. Now that's changed a little bit just because of the price. But if you had to give kind of like the elevator pitch for Bitcoin, like the quick marketing soundbite, what would you say? Like how would you sell Bitcoin to the masses?
To me, if I was selling Bitcoin, I would speak about history. Why did gold do X, Y, Z? Why did fiat happen? Like, what is the human psychology to acceptance? I would speak about things that could happen, like what if Amazon accepts it? What if XYZ country invests aggressively at it? So I think there's a lot of logical steps to continue the affirmation and confirmation of the currency. And I think history has proven that. And I would use history and examples of one domino effect that could change the outcome for the people that are cynical about it.
So
and just to follow up on that, how would you market NFTs? If NFTs, like right now, there's all these people being like, why is someone spending $70 million on a JPEG? Like if you just had to quickly explain to somebody what the value is of an NFT, what would you say?
I usually go down the route of, do you know somebody who's bought a Fortnite skin for $100, comma, do you think a blue check on Instagram is worth something, comma, I educate them for a minute on the metadata on the NFTs and speak about access, membership clubs, VIP treatments, one-on-one dinners, and talk about all the charity events and things that are sold when people get access to things that they can't get access to.
So getting back to the topic, keeping on this whole idea of the NFT bubble, et cetera, nonetheless, NFTs, how would you translate that into the real world? How would you translate, you've been in the business of selling physical goods. So how would you translate the NFT from intellectual property into the physical world? How will that come about?
I think people are really underestimating and undereducated on the smart contracts. And the reality is you could sell the digital asset, then deliver the individual the physical good. But then in the smart contract, let me give you an example. If I decide I have a book coming out in November, but then I'm a free agent and I was going to sign another book deal. Now I'm debating, should I just NFT my book after that? Print 200,000 copies, make an NFT replication of the cover, make 190,000 that look exactly like the cover. And if you buy it for $20, the NFT, I send you the book. It's literally, and you have now this little digital asset that you might be able to trade on to make some of your dollars back or what have you. But then there's 10,000 covers left. 9,000 of those can be silver covers, and they may be $100. But what that does in the smart contract is it allows you to be part of my book club. And once a month, once a week, whatever I decide in the smart contract, I will go with that small group and do Q&A and learnings. That leaves 100 gold books that might be things like one-on-one dinners or a live conference, and maybe one platinum book that is somebody that gets to spend a month with me. The access underneath the smart contract, I think, is going to end up being the aha for a lot of people as they become more educated that it's not just a JPEG. Not to mention, people care about the ownership of provenance. And as that becomes social currency and the way we live, it's no different than in 1999 when I told my friends that everybody would online date and they laughed me out of the room. They were unable to see the chess moves to how society would evolve. I believe in 15 years, people are going to look at people's public wallets to see what they have bought to become a conversation piece or a social currency layer, the way that logos are, the way that followers on social media are, the way that your Wikipedia or Google search results are.
That's funny you say that because I'm about to do that right now with you. Gary, you tweeted in 2013 that you just bought, using Bitcoin, Google Smart Pants and had it delivered by a drone in 21 minutes. First of all, must be a very expensive pair of pants in today's dollar terms. And second,
Yes.
What was your experience with paying something with Bitcoin? Should it be used as a currency? What are your thoughts on that?
I apologize. My experience was in 2013.
Bitcoin,
Go ahead.
Yeah, should Bitcoin be used as a currency?
It is. It's not even a should. this is not about predictions. People accept Bitcoin all the time. It's already happened. The question becomes, what happens next? I think this, Bitcoin is so much further along than the majority of things that have come before it as an accepted currency. To me, I don't get to say, nor do most humans get to say what should or shouldn't be accepted. If enough people believe in it, then it becomes. I always remind people, somebody used to live in the world before gold meant anything. We didn't have great documentation, but gold was a created ecosystem. Should gold be accepted?
What should be the currency of the world, is my question to you.
Whatever enough of the people in the world accept, right? Humans create their ecosystems. I don't think this is a game of should. This is a game of how has it always happened. People used to trade berries for sheeps. People used to trade furs for people. People used to trade high-end wine for workers to build things. I mean, I laugh at people's naivete to think what is going on today or what we grew up with is the end-all, be-all. That's just laughable. The human race will continue to evolve. And if anything, I think it makes more sense that things that are digital become the currency as we go that route as a race.
Do you see Bitcoin becoming the currency of the world that everyone will start using? And
I like to answer things that I understand, and you can see the conviction I come in on the other questions. I really don't know. For me, the reason I've gone harder into NFT than, let's say, currencies is because I just enjoy it more. I wasn't the kind of person that really traded equities my whole life. I haven't spent the meaningful hours that I think other people have around really being able to answer that question. What I can tell you is people are naive, and if they don't understand that a shocking number of people have accepted this. I think there's a lot of conversation of what happens to the dollar when it goes off of the gold standards in the 70s. I think there's a lot going on with our society and our relationships with governments. And I think the ingredients are in place for Bitcoin. And, you've got to understand, if Bitcoin hits and becomes a currency of society, well, that leads to a lot of other currencies and a lot of other variables like NFTs to also follow suit, and it creates a real digital finance economy.
So for a long time, people have been getting really frustrated with our current social media platforms, in particular Facebook, right? In terms of, keeping our data, selling our data, individuals having limited control over these sort of centralized platforms. But we still haven't really seen anything truly disrupt the current model, the sort of Facebook, Twitter model. I guess my question is, how do you see the future of social media? And do you think blockchain technology will play a part of it? Do you see a decentralized social media coming in the future?
I do see a decentralized social media. I do think on the flip side that our great disgust with Facebook Inc. is more of a mainstream media headline than reality. I haven't seen this grand exodus from Instagram because they sell our data. When you talk to normal people, it's like talking about DeFi or Bitcoin or NFTs. Most people speak about it from a headline standpoint, but can't actually articulate what they're so upset about. When they quote unquote sell our data, it's not like people are surveillancing our life. They're creating a scenario where we are getting more relevant advertising in our feeds based on our clicks and our actions. This great propaganda that these machines are manipulating us is laughable. You can absolutely delete the app. So, they're two separate things. I think the reason you haven't seen anything too crazy is real life humans are not so up in arms for seeing root beer ads in their feed because they like root beer, I do think a decentralized central network is inevitable because decentralization is here, right? Like the technology is here and every aspect of our society will play on top of it.
So along those lines, do you have an expectation, for instance, for where the price of Bitcoin will be in a couple of years from now, based on just the overall change in the economy and how people view networks and how they trade currency, et cetera?
You know what's funny, my friend? I don't tend to predict. I'm very good at seeing something and then tasting it, using it, and having observations. Here's what I will say. I will say that I don't believe there's a middle ground for Bitcoin. I think it's so far advanced that unless you have government involvement, I think it will continue to go up. And then if you do have massive government regulations, if Russia, America, Europe decides to say if you are a citizen of our state, our sovereign nation, you are not allowed to hold this, I think you've got a whole nother bag of issues and who knows what comes out of that. But I don't think there's this middle ground for a very long time. I think you got another decade max of potential middle ground, and then it's going to space, or you're going to have real interesting unrest between citizens and sovereign nations.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you so much, Gary, for joining us this morning and sharing your thoughts. Always a pleasure.
Thanks for having me, team. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right. That was Gary Vaynerchuck, chair of VaynerX and CEO of VaynerMedia. And mark your calendars, Gary will be one of the top headliners at Consensus by CoinDesk. That's happening on May 24th to the 27th. Register now for the biggest global event in the crypto and blockchain industry on coindesk.com/events. All right, coming up, BTC market analysis with the CEO of crypto.com. Welcome back. All right. Apparently we have some breaking news. eToro is going public as a SPAC. And taking a look at the XBX Bitcoin price right now, trading at $55,535. Bitcoin is down just over 2% over the past 24 hours. And the ETX Ether price right now, trading at $17.85, according to TradeBlock data. All right, joining us now to discuss the crypto markets and more is Crypto.com CEO Chris Marszalek. Welcome, Chris.
Thanks for having me, guys. Pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you. All right, Chris, and I understand that you have an announcement about NFTs on Crypto.com. Tell us a bit about that.
Absolutely. So we just announced the appointment of Joe Conyers as our head of NFT platform. Joe is tasked with bringing the biggest names in art, music, entertainment, and sports to Crypto.com's NFT play. And we've spent a good time working on this project, and we're going to be announcing the launch date pretty soon. So it's a very exciting time for us.
Congratulations. A very opportune time to get into NFTs. I just want to ask this just quick reaction, Chris, if you could. eToro just announcing it's going public via a merger with a SPAC. Do you have any interest in going public, and your reaction to this merger?
Yeah, so obviously we've looked at tremendous interest through the Coinbase's S1, and as you know, it's being speculated that Coinbase is going to trade at about $100 billion at listing. Obviously this generates a lot of excitement. I couldn't possibly count how many people approach Crypto.com with a SPAC idea. We are not open to this at all. We think that the way Coinbase is doing is the right way for companies in our industry. Strong consumer brands should go for direct listing, and that's probably what we're going to do at some point in the future when we feel that the business is ready to do it.
Chris, NFTs have been around for a while.
Go ahead, Lars.
They've been around. Yeah, sure. NFTs have been around for a while. why are you guys getting into it now in this way? What changed in the market other than a lot of news coverage?
Yeah, I think there is nothing more powerful than an idea that which time has come. And for us, this is perfectly aligned with the vision of the company. We're all about accelerating the world's adoption of cryptocurrency. Our vision is cryptocurrency in every wallet. So the first 100 million people or so came into this market largely through the trading use case. People buying and selling and holding for appreciation. We believe very strongly the next 100 million users in crypto is going. A big chunk of these guys is going to arrive in this industry through NFTs, and we believe that Crypto.com has everything that is needed to be the preeminent platform. We've got over 10 million customers, retail customers globally. We've got solid payment infrastructure. We've got our own public chain with low fees and fast settlement that is going into mainnet as early as next week. So we literally have everything we need to do it correctly. And we feel it's our mission to drive the global number of users, and NFT is the perfect use case to bring the biggest names in entertainment, in sports, into crypto.
So my understanding of your NFT platform is that it is invitation only. Can you explain what that means and what the reasoning is behind it?
Sure. We are going for a very curated approach. So in the early days of the platform, as a creator, you won't be able to just hop on and post your NFTs. We're building a team that will work with, very well-known artists, entertainers, and sports people to create unique NFTs and bring it into the platform in a very curated, hand-picked fashion, if you will. We think this is the way to assure customer experience is right, and also it guarantees the maximum impact.
So there was just an estimate by Mizuho saying that they expected up to $40 billion of U.S. stimulus checks to go into Bitcoin and stocks. Have you seen any evidence from previous stimulus checks? Have you seen any evidence of those actually going into purchasing Bitcoin? And what do you expect for in the coming months?
Well, again, we're in the middle of a bull market, and we've seen very heavy retail activity over the last couple of quarters. We literally doubled our user base in 4 months, from 5 million users to 10 million users globally. And of course, you've got strong participation from institutional side. So those two things coming together. This is why we are seeing the kind of action in the market as you can see. I think that definitely a big chunk of those stimmy checks is going to go into the market, and I can't really comment on this. I think those are people's individual choices.
So which do you see coming in stronger over the next few months? What do you think your market share will be between retail and institutional? What's going to be stronger, and or what's going to grow more? And what will your market share be?
So
the market share of the two.
Bullish. Yeah, we're super bullish on this, on the retail space in general. We just accelerated our target of hitting 100 million users from 2025 to 2023. So we kind of look at hitting 100 million users within the next 18 months. I think that, again, NFTs are going to play a role. Strong market on the trading front will definitely help. But I think the way to think about this is that the institutional involvement has massive impact in terms of the dollar inflows into this space, and specifically into Bitcoin. Bitcoin carries the entire market. So I think you will see the institutional dominance of this particular bull continue, and it will help with the retail side as well.
Where will it drive Bitcoin?
Pardon?
Price-wise? Where would it drive Bitcoin price-wise?
Oh, no, I've never predicted Bitcoin prices. I'm not going to start now, but I think that the narrative of Bitcoin as digital gold is kind of very well accepted right now and very well understood. Nobody wants to be debased 20% in a single year. So I think this is only going to continue. And if you think about Bitcoin's market cap today versus gold, there's still probably 10x in terms of the space where it's going to go. And it's not a question of if anymore. It's just a matter of time.
Excellent. Chris, thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations on entering the NFT space. Good luck to you.
Exciting times. Thanks for having me, guys.
Very exciting times. All right. That was Crypto.com CEO Chris Marszalek in Hong Kong. Coming up, meet the buyer behind Beeple's $70 million NFT sale at Christie's, and checking in with CoinDesk Global Policy and Regulation Managing Editor Nick Day. Welcome back. All right, the art world is continuing to reverberate from Beeple's $70 million NFT sale at Christie's Auction House last week. The sale makes Beeple's non-fungible token the third most expensive artwork by a living artist, but who would spend that kind of money on what some joke is a glorified JPEG? Well, our next guest is the pseudonymous buyer. Joining us now to discuss is MetaKovan. Welcome, MetaKovan.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah. And that's me who spent that $70 million on the JPEG.
That's right. Many people just can't believe you spent tens of millions. Oh, well, first of all, you've decided to be pseudonymous. Tell us, we're not actually talking to, this just a digital avatar, but tell us why you decided to be pseudonymous.
There is no specific reason why. I think metaverse and the gaming world itself, it lends its way to a avatar, right? If you look at Discord and everyone is an avatar already, right? And Twitter too. We are all our usernames. So avatar is quite natural, and it gives us a space to explore and live a kind of a character. Right, and that's what I am. As in the real world, I do have a history, and I'm a real person. I can assure you that. I've spent time in the space since 2013, right? And this avatar is a year old. So last year, I started consolidating all my NFT collection, which I've been doing since 2017, into one avatar. And I didn't want to be, I thought it'll be very interesting to be a different character that I could play over time in the metaverse.
All right. And aside from that, many people just can't believe that you spent tens of millions of dollars on what they essentially believe, as we joke, a JPEG. But what's the rationale behind buying an NFT for almost $70 million? What are you going to do with it?
Sure. Before jumping into what we are going to do with it, I feel there's a process to this. So there was a before Christie's also. So we built. We've had the largest NFT collection already. We've had the most valuable, the most precious pieces of NFTs. That's been released in the last few years. There's an F1 Delta Time car, the triple one that I hold. There's the First Supper, which is the first programmable art ever released in crypto. And when this piece by Beeple came out on Christie's, it looks like like a funny image from the far, but you should understand that it's over 440 million pixels, this picture. This is a truly digitally native picture. So it's not just an NFT, right? You cannot look at this JPEG. To enjoy this JPEG, you need to be in the metaverse, or we need a 5-floor building to explode this image physically, right? So this is a work of art, which includes 5,000 individual pieces over 13 years of his life. So that's very special to me because Beeple, I believe, is the artist of our century and of our generation. He's quirky. He does not take himself seriously, right? Like he's the meme. He's a meme of our generation, and he represents a very interesting value, which I believe that which I believe in too, which is consistency. So the only thing you cannot hack is time, and that image right there represents that. And anyone who looks at it, start looking at it from the top left, and you would see that it's when people just started, right? Like it's a very simple picture, and over 5,000 years, 5,000 days, he has become one of the most valuable living artists. And that I believe, if that does not inspire someone, what is going to?
Aside from the jokes about it being the most expensive JPEG in history, there has been a little bit of a backlash to the sale in that, people were so excited about it. Like, this is the democratization of art. This is digital art coming to Christie's being sold for a record price. And then when it came out that you were the buyer, it was like, okay, well, this is actually an inside crypto person who's really in the NFT world. Some people refer to you as a crypto whale who was actually bidding against Justin Sun, who's another, big figure in crypto and from Tron. And I guess like it some people perceived it as being more of, sort of like an inside crypto trade or, it even more cynically kind of an NFT marketing scheme. I'm just curious if you've seen some of these comments and also more importantly, how you would respond to that.
Usually I ignore, like negativity. So those kind of comments, it's not something I spend my time on. But to be frank, I had no idea who I was bidding against, right? Like there were many people who I was bidding against, and I had my own budget. So like we were here to make sure that we bring this NFT back into the crypto space so that we can build monuments in the metaverse, in the virtual worlds for this, right? I don't know what a traditionalist will do with this, frankly. Like it may, like, it's important that, it's like a bridge between the traditional world and the real world. And I think it's more appropriate a guy from crypto actually bought this, right? Like I feel like that's the interesting step, because now people are in the traditional world are wondering, oh, okay, so there's a lot of real money that's with the crypto natives, and that's going to be interesting in the next few years.
Well, if anybody's going to spend $70 million on a JPEG, it's going to be a JPEG, as your avatar is. But a question about what you're going to do with this. Are you going to fractionalize it? You bought Beeple's other works, and
right.
you had the B20 token. How long did it take to make your investment back? Do you expect to do that again?
So with B20s, we bought, it was an interesting auction where we spent around $2.2 million. That was a huge buy back then, right? So that already made news, but we are talking about 4 months ago, right? So that's actually 3 months ago. It's funny how fast time flies. I've not made my money back, meaning what I did with B20s was I sold around 23% of it for not a lot of premium. So whatever we spent on it plus 30% was the cost of the sale, and I took back around 1.3 million to 1.4 million dollars, right? And so I left it hanging, and I'm not planning to sell my share of B20s, which I kept. It's not like I kept 70%, so we gave away more than 12% to the people who worked on the production, doing the monuments, etc. So I hold around 50% of the tokens now, and I don't plan to sell it anytime soon.
There clearly already are a lot of new artists and creators getting into the NFT space. What is your advice for an artist looking to make an NFT? What are some things they should do, and what are some things they should avoid? Because it seems like there are ways that this could go wrong for a new artist who doesn't understand the space fully.
Definitely. Like, I think it's the same question of asking why Beeple's pick is worth $70 million and someone else is worth much lesser, right? Like, what is the most important thing here is that we are going into a producer economy, which means that all these NFTs are not like just random things, and not we are not just buying up but just based on taste, which is also quite important. But there is also a lot of unsaid contractual agreements here. So it's like, do you trust the artist to understand scarcity? Do you trust the artist to not flood the markets with infinite number of NFTs, right? Like there are a lot of these kind of things we look at when we look into buying NFTs from an artist. And we also want to make sure that they are going to spend time here, right? Like with the community, and they're going to spend time in the metaverse. For example, Beeple spent some time with us during the launch of B20s, which was very exciting. And if there is some artist, I would say if there is some mainstream artist and they're like, yeah, I have this Twitter, take this NFT, I don't think that's going to hold a lot of value, right? Like you have to be here, you have to be with people, and you have to create that community following and make sure you're honorable, consistent, and that's how you make your NFTs more valuable.
So besides just one quick question. You said you had a budget in mind for this NFT. What was that budget?
Okay. I don't want to disclose it right now.
Okay.
Because it's like, yeah, what happened is happened, right? Yeah, I would not prefer to disclose it now.
So besides the market aspects of purchasing an NFT, what are the emotional aspects that are involved in the art that you buy or sell? What gets you to buy a certain piece? You said some very nice things about this latest one, but is there an underlying theme in how you feel about your work that happens throughout? And what is
Definitely.
it?
So Metaverse is not just me. There is a whole team that works at Metaverse, and we are collectors, we are curators, right? So and to give a brief background of myself, I have an Indian origin. I'm sure my voice would have told you that, and I came into the crypto space with no money, zero money, right? I made everything here, so I'm a crypto native, and if you look at me. It's a story of profound change because of crypto, and that's the same thing I think NFTs are doing to people. We are talking about Beeples here, but Beeple is the main news, right? Like it's the way to attract all these people who are all small artists around the world, and tell them that there's an opportunity for you, right? You come here. Come, you make your first $1,000. Come, make your first $5,000, and that's very powerful because that's how I came. That's how I started. I made my first $5,000 back in 2013, and that money grew. And I made sure that I was very, diligent in investing that money. But that's another story, right? So it's important that we take this money that I've made through over years, and I think what we are spending it towards is change, and inspiring artists, and making sure that we have an inclusive growth from around the world, around different cultures.
Any other artists? Any other artists you're looking at?
Actually, I'm in our team. There is another person called Tubadur who actually leads, curating art. I'm more of a person who's the business, and who's a man, behind the understanding the economics. So I focus on NFTs that are more like land. So that's my focus. So I have land, and I always am lookout for NFTs that make me more value in the future in some other way. But art, I would say the best person is Tubadur. But I have one person in mind who comes to mind. Like I really like Josie, who's not been doing a lot of work in the recent past, but she's a huge inspiration. She's been a crypto native, and she's been NFT native, right? Like she started very early, 2017, I guess, and then she's been contributing to the industry. So I like her work a lot.
Josie could be the next most expensive living artist next Sotheby's or Christie's auction. All right, MetaKovan, thank you so much. I love, yeah, I love your passion.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love your
thank you, Emma.
passion. I love this discussion. Thanks so much for joining us, MetaKovan.
Thanks a lot. This was a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Thank you.
All right, that was the pseudonymous buyer of the most expensive NFT in the world, MetaKovan. That's it for First Mover. Join us tomorrow for special guest Paul Brody, Principal and Global Innovation Leader at Ernst & Young. And thank you, Emily Parker, our CoinDesk Managing Director of International Content, and Lawrence Lewitinn, Managing Editor of Global Capital Markets. I'm your host, Christine Lee. I'll be back live at 3 p.m. with All About Bitcoin. Coming up at noon is The Hash. You're watching CoinDesk TV.